What's up, Menlo students? Welcome to 90s Night. My name is Donovan. I brought my favorite 90s toy, some moon shoes. We're going to test out some other 90s toys, see if our students know anything about them. So let's go on over and see what we got. All right. Many of you know we have a pop-up shot at almost every campus. This is a mini version. Darby, would you come on over? Darby, we're going to do a quick 10-second round to see how many shots you can get in 10 seconds, all right? This is a mini pop-up shot. Are you ready? All right, ready, set, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She got two. Way to go, Darby, way to go. All right, Zach, my friend, you're up. Yeah, it's 90s night. Zach, you're going to do 10 seconds. You got to beat Darby's too, all right? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He got two as well. All right, two is good. Lauren Chang, come on over. Lauren Chang. All right, we got to see what you can do here. Yep, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Did you only get one? You got two. Okay. Connor, where's Connor? Get over here. All right. Everyone's got two. In 10 seconds, I think you're the one. You are the true 90s kid here, all right? What year were you born? 2003. All right, close enough. All right, ready, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, the pressure, 1. Oh my gosh, he could not do it. What a crazy. Can we get a real 90s kid? Can we get a real 90s kid here? All right, David Olson, get on over here. All right, you got 10 seconds, David. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He got zero, guys. Zero. Are you sure you're a 90s kid? Are you sure? I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. Well, tonight is 90s night, everyone. We're going to see some really fun colors, some really great things, more moon shoes maybe, who knows, but definitely more 90s things. We're going to kick it to them in just a few seconds. I hope that you're ready for a great 90s themed Menlo Students Live. We'll see you in just a few seconds.
Can you hear me now? This is with my phone. Hello, hey everybody, welcome to Menlo Students Live.
Yo.
It is 90s night. I am Mary from Mountain View.
And my name is Brian. I'm from the Saratoga campus.
All right.
Welcome to Menlo Students Live.
You guys, it's 90s night, and I'm super psyched. We got like 90s candy, we got some 90s graffiti back here. I'm psyched because this is my decade. I rocked the 90s. I was the bomb in the 90s, okay? So if you know anything about the 90s, none of y'all were born, unless you're like a leader or something. But if you know about the 90s, write something in the chat, write your favorite phrase, write something you know about. But I know about the 90s, Brian. I used to rock a fanny pack just like this one. I used to rock really cool, like these roller skates. And I used to wear this outfit, oversized t-shirts and what we called stirrup pants every day. I love the 90s. What about you? What were you like? What were you like
I was
in the 90s?
born in 1996, and so I was like learning to walk and talk, and
Wow.
Eventually I started playing Super Nintendo. Actually, not Super Nintendo. Nintendo 64 was my jam.
Okay.
So yeah, I know a few things.
What's your favorite outfit in the 90s?
I mean, probably like a onesie when I was a kid.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. So who else? What else do you know about the 90s,
so
Brian?
another thing about the 90s is Zach Porter and Lauren Chang are both born in the 90s as well. So you all get to type in the chat, who was the cuter 90s baby? Was it Zach or was it Lauren? Vote, and then we'll tally it up towards the end.
All right, that is pretty cool. I'm excited to hear it. So make sure you vote in the chat right now. But we have something else pretty cool. We've got a 90s game. If y'all ever heard of Family Feud. We're going to play Family Feud. So roll over here with me. We've got actually a real family with you. Do you like that pivot I did on my cool skates? We have a real family. We have Jack and we have Ella. They are brother and sister. So they have a lot of sibling rivalry. Do you
for
feel
sure.
it,
It's gonna
Brian?
get
You feel
heated.
it?
It's gonna get heated,
It's
for
actually
sure.
already very tense. Okay, so they're going to do some trivia. Brian's going to read some questions. Whoever bangs their buzzer first is going to answer. And whoever gets the best answer wins, but the loser is who I'm interested in. Brian, can you tell us what happens
So
to
check
losers?
out these consequences right over here. They're gonna spin this wheel. They have the consequences of drinking Coke with Pop Rocks, or getting slimed, or pixie sticks, or eating Warheads. They're so sour. They're like
gosh.
not enjoyable, but
Brian,
that's a consequence. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
sorry.
if you know, but some of this stuff is lore of the 90s. This is the lore of the 90s. Like if you ate Pop Rocks and Coke, your stomach explodes. Your stomach explodes.
Well, we're gonna find
It's
out.
true.
Yeah.
And if you eat a Warhead, it's supposedly the most sour substance on Earth.
One
Yeah.
of the top for
So
sure.
we'll see what happens. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. You guys ready?
Okay, here we go. So
hit
question
it.
number 1 is name a Spice Girl. Name a Spice Girl. We know you're not from the 90s, but just give it a shot.
idea.
No
Just
idea.
give it a shot. Name a Spice Girl. Let's go. Okay, yeah, Jeff.
Cinnamon.
Negative. You get it wrong.
Okay.
I'm sorry, bud.
Okay, so is he a loser?
Yeah, he's a
all
loser.
right. Spin that wheel. Oh, yeah! Oh, Jack,
no.
okay. You got the slime.
Oh,
So here you
no.
go. You're going to get real close here.
Right over here. Right over here.
Yeah. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Slime yourself. Oh! Get it all
That
down
is
in there,
great.
man. That was
That
pretty
is
gross.
Nickelodeon
All right,
all
here
over
we
you.
go. Here we go.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh.
Okay, very cool. Just had to give him a little special sliming
Wow.
there. All
Good
right.
job there. Okay,
Very
next
nice.
question.
Let me give you some rags.
Next
next
question
question.
is name a Tom Hanks movie from the 90s.
Tom Hanks movie, guys.
From
Name
the
a
90s.
Tom Hanks movie. And in the chat, if you know a Tom Hanks movie,
That's right, type it in
write
there.
it in. Write it in. Help
Tom
him
Hanks.
out.
Tom Hanks from the 90s. You gotta press the button.
really old.
You gotta press the button to play.
It's hard to concentrate. It's hard to concentrate when you're like covered
Press the
in
button.
Let's go,
Win.
let's go, let's go.
Make Ella get some slime, man. You got this. Tom Hanks movie.
Maybe I should give him a hint. Should I give him a hint?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
definitely. Maybe he was in a cartoon from Disney. Could be.
Maybe life is like some chocolates.
Yeah, maybe.
Willy Wonka?
Oh,
Wrong.
no. All right. So wait, Ella gets a punishment, right? Okay,
Yeah.
go, Ella.
Oh no. Coke
Okay.
and Pop
Look at Pop
Rocks.
Rocks.
So go ahead and open that up. Here is your Coke. Enjoy that together. That is a
Okay.
concoction.
Throw your Pop
that's
Rocks
just
in,
all bad.
and then keep them in your mouth.
Oh no.
You got this, Ella.
Nice.
All right.
Here we go.
Zoom in. All right, here we go. Down that Coke.
Really hoping your stomach doesn't explode. I'm really hoping it doesn't
All
happen.
right, is your stomach? How's your stomach? Is it okay? All right, cool.
Nice,
Oh,
nice,
she
nice.
did it, everybody. She did it. Nothing exploded.
All right.
Next one.
One more question. Name a popular kid's toy from the 90s. I hear the Pop Rocks. Oh, go.
Papa Shot.
Papa Shot. That is wrong, buddy.
Oh, spin that wheel. Spin that
Spin
wheel.
the wheel.
All right, I hope you guys are doing it better in the chat than we're doing out here.
Coke and Pop
Oh,
Rocks.
Coke and Pop Rocks.
Wow.
Keep them in your mouth. Keep them in your mouth.
That's
you got
right.
this.
You want me to open that for you? You got it. Oh, there you go.
It's a little too slimy, everybody. He is a little slimy.
Brother and sister. Here we go.
All right, here we
Pop
go.
Rocks.
How was it, Ella? How was it? Was it?
There you go.
She says it was delicious.
Enjoy yourself a Coke
All right,
right there.
keep it in your mouth. Down that Coke. All right.
Oh no!
Oh,
Wow.
yes. Oh, man.
That is commitment
That is
right
the
there.
problem with Coke and Pop Rocks.
That's
Your
great.
face explodes. All right. Very nice.
Wow. Do we have time for one more?
We have time for another one? I think so.
I think
Go.
so. All right, so one more question. Here we go. Name a 90s TV show.
Friends.
Friends, that's
Oh,
right.
that's good.
That's 12
That's
points right
good.
there.
All right.
You do another one. Okay,
Another
name
one?
another 90s TV show. Go.
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy is incorrect, actually.
Incorrect, Ella. Spin.
Spin.
Pixie sticks. Okay,
so here's Pixie stick. Just chop off the top. And you have to eat the whole thing, Ella. I'm sorry.
Eat it all. Eat it.
There you go. You might want to like cut. Yeah, like this part. There we go.
Oh.
Wow. It took me like 2 hours to eat one of those. You're doing it in like 30 seconds.
Oh, no. How close
Wow.
are you? Got it?
Okay. Wow, Ella, trooper.
Oh, man. It's coming back. It's coming back out.
Oh, no. Okay. I think she's good. I think she's okay.
All right. Well, that was awesome. That was our last one. So, Ella and Jack, you guys tied. So
That's
you're
right.
going to have to share. What are we sharing here?
This
All right.
nostalgic 90s candy box
kit. Okay.
is yours.
Guys, in the
Good job.
chat,
Thanks for playing.
Give this couple, brother, sister, a big round of applause.
Wow.
That was amazing. They did a great job. Let's make sure I can skate back over here. All right. So we've just got some cool stuff happening right now,
That's
Brian,
right, Mary.
right?
What's happening this Saturday?
This Saturday, we actually have our hygiene kit drop off, which is awesome. We've been talking to you about the hygiene kit drive, and you're going to put your items all listed out at menlo.church/hygiene drive. You're putting those items like shampoo, soap, you're putting them all in this gallon Ziploc bag. And you're going to drop them off at 3 different sites. And you know we're doing this to spread hope this summer. We're going to spread hope. We're going to hand these kits out to people who don't always get a chance to have a regular shower, don't have access maybe to a home where they have the comforts that we live in. So you're going to pack these hygiene kits at home, but you're going to drop them off either to Saratoga campus, where Brian will be, on Saturday between 1 and 3, or San Mateo campus Saturday between 1 and 3, or on Sunday at the Menlo Park campus between 1 and 3.
Right.
So get those hygiene kits ready. And I think Brian has a cool announcement right now,
I
too.
do. Can't wait to see everybody there. Hey, y'all, Student Leadership Team is live. That means you can sign up, talk to your student ministry directors to find out more information, or text SLT to the number down below, and we'll help you get plugged in.
That's awesome. And Brian, do we know yet who's the cutest baby of the 90s?
We do. So, drum roll. The winner is Zach. Psych, it's Lauren! Oh!
Yeah.
Lauren is the
there we
cutest
go.
90s baby.
We all knew that was going to happen. Okay, well, we've been going through a pretty cool series this summer called Seasons about Paul in prison. And Paul is writing to his churches, and he's talking about having hope in Jesus. So we're going to hear from our friend Brett tonight. So let's take a listen.
March 17th. That was the day that shelter in place began. And overnight, we went from crowded restaurants to full classrooms to busy schedules to silence in the streets. For a second, I want you to think about what were some of the ways that your everyday life has changed since then. For me, one of the things I think about is just our language. I mean, back in February, I had never even heard of the phrases shelter in place and social distancing, but now that is part of our everyday lives. Or maybe for you, now your parents are working at home, and so you've mastered the art of silent gestures that say, hey, I'm in a busy meeting right now. You need to go outside and play with your siblings. And then, of course, there are the masks. Now, no longer are you just looking for your wallet, are you looking for your keys, or maybe your phone before leaving? You are flipping over couch cushions trying to find this thing because you cannot go anywhere if you don't have a mask. And please wear your mask. I would love to see you guys soon. But you know, when shelter in place began, our world changed. And when our world changes, the way we live our lives changes as well. And that's an important idea that I want you to remember. When life changes, the way we live our lives has to change as well. You know, this summer we are looking at a couple of letters that Paul wrote to some early churches. And as we've been looking at these, we've been asking, hey, what can we learn from these churches and from these letters that can teach us about being content or being faithful in following Jesus in every season of life? Because Paul was a guy who knew the truth that when life changes, the way you live your life changes. Because when he met Jesus, everything changed. The way he lived his life changed as well. Now, I want you to do one thing for me. I want you, wherever you are, to reach out and to grab something to hold on to. It doesn't matter what it is, but grab something and put it into your hand. You can have one hand free so you can keep typing in the chat unless you're gonna dab. Maybe just don't do that. But grab something to hold on to as we continue. You got it? Good. Today we're gonna be looking at Paul's book to the Colossians, so the church in Colossae. And we're gonna be looking at Colossians chapter 2, starting in verse 6. And Colossians chapter 2, verse 6 starts in this way. It says, therefore, and now I want you to stop. And here's why. Anytime you come across the word therefore in the Bible, it is important for you to ask this question. What's therefore? Therefore. Repeat that at home. What's therefore? Therefore. The reason for that is the author puts in that word therefore to let you know that what they are about to say is important. Like, you need to know what happened beforehand in order to know why what they are about to say matters. And so in this case, we need to know what Paul talked about in chapter 1 in order to know how does chapter 2 apply to our lives today. And if you were here a couple weeks ago, you're in luck because Mary Scott talked all about that. And I encourage you, if you missed it, to go back and check it out on YouTube. But I'm also gonna give you a little recap right now. In chapter 1, Paul is talking to the Colossians and telling them about who Jesus is and the impact that sin has had on our life. He says this, he says, once you were alienated from God and you were enemies with him in your mind, which was shown by your evil actions. Paul here is talking about sin and the effect that sin can have on your life. Now, you still holding on to that thing? I want you to take a look at it and imagine what would happen if this thing was permanently cemented into your hand. That no matter what you did, no matter how hard you tried, it was stuck in your hand. Now, I'm willing to bet that if that happened to you, you would be living your life a little bit differently. Like, maybe you would be able to adjust, you would figure out things to do, but you would have to change your life. It would be different than if your hand were free with nothing in it. In some ways, this is the same impact that sin has on our lives. What sin does, it enters into our world and enters into our lives and gives us a life that isn't the way that it was meant to be lived, that isn't free. And it impacts our relationships and our friendships, and it impacts our relationship with God. This is why things like racism or sexism or even lying to your friends, like those are aspects of sin because they affect the way that we relate to the people around us. They cause us to treat people who are created in God's image as though they were less than. And more importantly, it affects the way that we interact with God and creates a barrier between us and God that we can't fix on our own. But then Paul says this. Paul says, God rescued us from the control of darkness, which is sin, and transferred us into the kingdom of the Son that God loves. God set us free through the Son and forgave our sins. What Paul's saying here and in the verses surrounding it is that through Jesus' death on the cross, he took the power that sin had over us and it was defeated. And through his resurrection, we are able to have life with him. It's like he took the cement that was keeping that thing in our hands and he destroyed it, allowing us to let it go and to be free to live life with him. You're free to let that thing go right now, but make sure you keep it close. See, for Paul, this message about life with Jesus and that because of Jesus, we can live a life free with God, that changed everything. That was the foundation that Paul believed should shape everything about the way you live your life. But you see, Paul also knew something else. Paul knew that seasons happen, that sometimes seasons are difficult. Sometimes life gets busy. Sometimes we forget this message of the life we have in Jesus, and we begin to go back to those things that we let go of, those things that Jesus had given us freedom from. And you see, that was happening to the church in Colossae. So Paul actually warns them about that when he says this. He says, see to it that nobody enslaves you with philosophy and foolish deception, which conform to human traditions and the way the world thinks and acts rather than Christ. See, what had been happening in that church was that they were a new group of Christians. They were excited about life with Jesus and the freedom that they had, but then people started coming in. And people started telling them that, that stuff that you have is good, but if you really want to know more life, if you really want to be part of God's people, you need to start doing this as well. You need to start following these rituals. You need to be circumcised. You need to stop eating these certain foods. You need to participate in these festivals. And as they were hearing these messages, they started picking up more and more things, and this freedom that they had in life with Jesus started to slowly fade away. Now, has this ever happened in your life? I'll tell you, for me, I grew up in the church. I grew up hearing all about the freedom of the life with God, that Jesus' love for me. But I also loved something else, and that was people's approval. And so I lived my life constantly trying to get the approval of others. I always wanted to be the smartest, to be the best athlete, to be the perfect Christian, thinking that if everybody approved of me, then I'd really feel alive. And on the surface, that actually looked like I was doing that pretty well. People probably looked at me and said, yeah, Brett's living with his hands free, like he's living the dream. But the reality is that I oftentimes struggled to love myself because I knew the mistakes that I had made. I oftentimes stayed up late at night because I was full of guilt and shame, and I had struggles to let it go. I oftentimes hid sin, thinking that if people knew that I did those things, they would look at me differently. So while Jesus had offered me his life, I had picked up these messages and these lies that instead filled me up and kept me constrained, not able to live life with Jesus. Have you ever had moments like that? See, now all of this is the context leading up to that therefore. Paul is telling us that because of who Jesus is and what Jesus has done on the cross, we can know life with him. But there are also different messages that are going to try to pull us away from that, try to tell us that you aren't actually alive in Jesus. And so Paul, in verse 6, says this. He says, therefore, live in Christ Jesus the Lord in the same way that you received him. When Paul says in the same way that you received him, he's talking about that initial message that you received about who Jesus was that changed your life. What it was that you heard that made you say, I want to drop everything and I want to follow Jesus. Remember that message, because that is the message that you want to start living from. What was that message for you? Why have you decided that you want to follow Jesus? Think about that for a second, because that's where we want to start. So then Paul continues. In verse 7, he says this. He says, be rooted and built up in him. Be established in faith and overflow with thanksgiving as you were taught. This verse right here could be viewed as a how to live life freely with Jesus training plan. And it starts with that, be rooted. A few months back, I gave a sermon here at Menlo, and I talked to people about this lemon bush that my wife and I were trying to grow. And after the sermon, somebody came up to me and said, Brett, that tree is not gonna grow unless you get a bigger plant or a bigger pot and get some better soil. I thanked her for her advice and I completely ignored it. 2 months later, that plant died. However, my wife and I went and bought another lemon bush. And this time we decided to, actually listen to her. And as I speak right now, that tree is growing like 5 or 6 lemons. We decided to name that bush Life because when life gives us lemons, we're gonna make some pretty awesome lemonade. Paul says, be rooted in the message that you receive, because he knows that when our lives stay rooted in Jesus, the way that we live and grow out of that is gonna start reflecting Jesus's life. And Donovan talked about that last week. That when we stay rooted in Jesus's message, we begin to be alive. what message are you rooted in today? Is it one that teaches you about the life found in Jesus? Or is it one that is pushing you to pick back up those things that Jesus has already freed you from? Now then Paul continues and he says to be built up and to be established in faith. He's talking about ways that you can build your life on things so that you can have this solid foundation in Jesus. My friend Lisa Lewis oftentimes says after watching a sermon or reading a book, saying, hey, what did you learn and what are you gonna do about it? Two simple questions. What did you learn and what are you gonna do about it? Those two questions can help lead you to a life that is built up and established on Jesus. See, here's something that I believe. I believe that if you ask those two questions every time you maybe did the Seasons Bible reading plan or every time you met as a life group, what did I learn and what am I gonna do about it? I believe that Jesus will start to do a work in your life, that your roots will be more established in him and you will become more alive. Because the more you practice anything, the easier it becomes. What did I learn? And what am I gonna do about it? And then Paul says, your life will begin to overflow with thanksgiving. You see, because of Jesus, everything changed. And now you can live a life that is fully alive in him by staying rooted in his message, by being built up and established and letting your life overflow with thanksgiving. So now, what do we do with all this? Well, the first thing that I think we can do is simply this, is receive Jesus' love. It is so important to always start there. Receive Jesus' love. Paul says this, or Jesus' life. Paul says this, God made you alive with Christ and forgave all of the things that you had done wrong. Did you catch that? God made you alive. This is such an important thing to remember, that it's God who made you alive, not you who made yourself alive. Because if you made yourself alive, there's a chance that you could lose that life. But since it's God who does all the work, since through the death and resurrection of Jesus, this life is made possible to us, that life is possible for you no matter what you have done wrong, no matter how many times you've messed up. And Jesus just says, all you gotta do is receive it, and you will know my love. If you haven't received that life, I wanna encourage you to text the word life to 650-600-7456, and your director will reach out to you this week. You know, after we receive Jesus' life, you can do this. The next thing is to learn and apply. Jesus says, or Paul talks about how we need to be built up and rooted and established in him. And when we learn and apply the things that we have learned, our life begins to change, just like I had talked about earlier. The more we apply, the more our lives are gonna reflect Jesus' life. Get in the habit of asking those questions. What did you learn? And what are you gonna do about it? And then the final thing is this, to let go. Now, if you've already let go of that object, pick it back up. Because as you hold on to this, I want you to take a moment to look at it and to ask the question, what am I holding on to that might be keeping me from experiencing the life that Jesus has for me today? It could be anything from the need to have approval from others to sins that you just can't seem to break, or maybe even lies that you're listening to saying that you're just not good enough. But here's something I want you to know. Jesus wants to make you alive. Paul says this. He says, you were buried with him through baptism and raised with him through faith in the power of God who raised him from the dead. Did you catch that? The same power that raised Jesus from the dead is the same power that wants to make you alive. Jesus wants to help you let go of those things and know life in him. Well, right now, we're gonna go into a time of singing. And as we do that, I want you to think about this. Continue holding on to that object and ask yourself, what am I holding on to that is keeping me from being alive in Jesus right now? And as we sing, give that thing over to God. Say, God, I want to let go of this. Help me know your resurrecting power so that I can be alive in you. And then let it go. And once you let it go, I encourage you, type in the chat and say, I'm letting go, so that we can see that we're all letting go to know life with God together. You see, because of Jesus, everything has changed. And now we have the opportunity to become alive through him and to have his resurrecting power help us let go of those things and become alive in him. Will you pray with me? God, we thank you for who you are. We thank you that you are a God who makes us alive in you. And I just pray for anybody who's out there who's wondering, man, I don't know if I can let this go. God, I pray that you remind them that you are a God who loves them and you are with them through this. God, help us to be alive and to follow you. In your name, amen.
As we move into a time of worship, we want to invite you to continue reflecting on the message and things that you need to let go and things that are preventing you from experiencing Christ fully. Because it's through Christ, it is through him that we can declare victory over sin and death, and it is through him that we experience new life.
Was crowned with thorns, is crowned with glory now. The Savior knelt to wash our feet. Now at his feet we bow. One who wore our sin and shame, now robed in majesty, the radiance of perfect love now shines for all to see. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King.
The fear that held us now gives way to him who is our peace. His final breath upon the cross is now alive in me. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. By your spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. By your spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected where soldiers watched in vain was borrowed for 3 days. His body there would not remain. Our God has robbed the grave. Our God has robbed the grave. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King.
I was buried beneath my sin. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my turn till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my turn till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. Your mercy has saved my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old made new. Jesus, when I met you, you called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. I need a rescue, my sin was heavy. The chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan. Now you call me citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open. 'Cause when you called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness this day.
Oh man, well I for one am super grateful for that worship team and just the worship they brought and just a reminder that God brings freedom. So, but it's not over, guys. It's not over. We're going to life groups right now and we're going to talk about what Brett talked to us about having freedom in God, about what we might be holding on to that's keeping us from that freedom. And very importantly, about what you learned and what you're going to do about it, right? So we've got the Zoom codes that are coming up right now on the screen just in a moment. We've got some Zoom codes, and if you don't know what campus you belong to or which Zoom code you might be zooming into, go to the one that says New Students After Party, and you're going to meet a couple of people who probably you'll just meet Matt, and he'll tell you where to go for your life group. Life group is a time where you're going to get to know some folks. You're going to get to know your life group leader. You're going to talk a little bit more about the talk and share life together. So let's get to it. I'll see you next week.